Welcome in. It's another edition of the Kelly Wells Show. We talk University of Pikeville Bears basketball, and the Bears currently ranked number 4 in the country. We are currently awaiting the latest poll numbers to find out where UPike is ranked in a huge matchup coming up. I'm Andrew Joyce, your host. The Bears coming off big wins over Ohio Christian and Bluefield College in Mid-South Conference play to kick off the second semester. We're joined by our head coach, Kelly Wells, of the University of Pikeville Bears. Coach, as we sit, ranked number 4 in the country, 15-1, 5-1 in the conference. You've got to be mostly happy about that.
We are. We see there's a lot of work ahead, but we're certainly pleased with the response our guys had coming back from break with a great week of play. Polls will be coming out. You know, the number 1 and number 3 team both dropped games this week, so it looks like it's a setup for a colossal matchup with us and Cumberland's on Thursday. So we're excited, but see a lot of potential in this group for sure.
And if someone has not seen the UPike Bears this year, this is the game to get to. You'll fall in love with this team, as many that have fallen in love with this team. They put up a lot of points. They play defense. It's a very selfless team. You'll see huge assist numbers, a good passing team, and guys truly seem to be coming together.
They really have done a lot of good things, leading in the nation in a lot of statistical categories. But the thing that I like most about our guys is they're very resilient under whatever circumstance, whether we've got foul trouble and we have to play guys out of position. We had Josh Whitaker playing the post position the other night just to fill in a few plays to rest a couple guys. Sure. Just anything that comes in front of us, we seem to handle it pretty well. And halfway through the season, that's a great sign.
Absolutely is. 15-1 as we sit now. Cumberland's comes to the Expo Center on Thursday. We'll talk more about that game, and we've got to take a step back and look at the last two. You're coming off the end of the first semester, and if someone hasn't been tuned in, there are a couple of guys that are no longer with the team. Let's address that.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of turnover. One of the things that we stand for here at the University of Pikeville and everything we do is our academics, and we had 2 starters just flatly just didn't meet those standards. So both of those have been moved to ineligible status. One that was a red shirt that we were hoping to come in didn't do the job academically, and so he's been removed as well from the team. So it's been a little disappointing. That's probably the hardest part of the job. Sure. Is to see kids not take advantage of opportunities and have different mistakes that they make. And sometimes we have to be the one that kind of shut the door and give them the wake-up call. And they certainly got a wake-up call. Right. And it hurts our team. It hurts our university. It hurts the program. But nonetheless, it gives an opportunity for next man to rise up. So, you know, this gives Elijah an opportunity to get in there and get himself healed up. It gives Terrence an opportunity to get in there and get healed up. But it also gives some of our new players that we brought in at the break an opportunity to come in. And one of those played the other night at Bluefield, and you can tell he's really going to help us once he figures out his role.
Of course, P.J. Jenkins, 6'1" guard, called a combo guard. Very athletic, and he proved that he can shoot it as well. Stepped up and fired a three-pointer right off the bench in his first appearance and drilled it.
Well, he's a confident young man. Obviously, you're not confident if you don't come out and your first shot be a 3 and make it. But the things he offers, not only just scoring the ball, yes. You notice his defense is tremendous, his speed is tremendous. He fits what we're doing perfectly and gives us another option at the guard spot.
And Ohio Christian, as we come back from the break, you'd had a long layoff of nearly 2 weeks. Were you pleased with the way your team responded coming off such a long break? Because we've talked about how sometimes when you have that kind of break, players might get soft. Conditioning's not there.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I thought our guys really handled themselves better coming back from Christmas than they did from Thanksgiving. And everything's a learning experience. We had to learn the hard way through Thanksgiving, and yes. I didn't think the guys really liked the way I had to handle that. So they took care of business on their end, and it was a much more pleasant exchange those first few days than it was before. And it showed in our play. We got off to a 20-0 start, right. And you know, they're an NCCAA school, but they're a very good NCCAA school. So yes. We got on them early and really had a nice night, and everybody got an opportunity to play, and was a good outcoming from the break.
Absolutely. And then after that one tune-up game, you go on the road in the conference. I don't care who the opponent is. It's always a task in the Mid-South to go on the road. You go to Bluefield, taking on a good team that had wins over St. Catherine and Georgetown earlier this year. It's a team that's certainly capable. And it was a dogfight, a game that the Bears didn't shoot it particularly well. While they have shot it well most of the year, didn't shoot it well, but still able to come out with a win.
not shooting it well is an understatement. We just really couldn't find the basket, and really we took good shots. I thought our shot selection was tremendous. I thought we scored offense from our defense. We did the things that we had planned to do. We just didn't make open shots, and everything looks better when you make open shots. And it's hard to complain about a 14-point win, but at the same time, that Bluefield doesn't lose at home. I mean, they significantly are better at home than they are on the road, and we had to be dialed in, had to be focused in. I thought our energy was tremendous. I had to make them call timeout in the first 3 minutes of the game, so it shows that we're maturing. I think we're maturing as a team and handling business well. Even though we don't shoot the ball well, could you have said 2 years ago that Trevor said he would give you 13 rebounds on the night that he didn't shoot it well? So we are maturing, and I like that about us.
And Jamar Briscoe, we'll see the highlights coming up. Of course, already a two-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. He led the way with 31. And then Trevor, while he did struggle, I think 0 for 8 from three-point range, and he still finished with 15 points. But as you said, 13 rebounds, a double-double. And he just has become a workhorse, while basically being a big, tall, skinny guard and having to play down low and fight for those rebounds.
Yeah, and that's understanding circumstances. He's played out of position a little bit, which has helped him some because he's got mismatches offensively. But he's toughened up. He's matured quite a bit, and just he's got an opportunity for Player of the Week this week, just like Jamar does. I say Jamar Deuce has as well. So we've got a lot of guys playing a lot of good basketball.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we don't want to leave anyone out. We'll talk more about that. When we get to highlights, of course, assistant coach Ty Compton will walk us through the highlights. We'll also step into the Bears spotlight tonight. Deuce Briscoe, he's the two-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. He's in the player spotlight tonight. Also, we'll focus on the U-Pike women's program. Bill Watson, one of our guests, along with Sydney Mason from the U-Pike women's team. It's all part of this edition of the Kelly Wells Show. When we return, it's presented by Appalachian Wireless.
The biggest thing about U-Pike, you have that one-on-one with your teachers. You know everybody in your class. You have teachers who will work with you. If you need help, they'll stay after. It's a real good feeling. It's a family atmosphere. I mean, everybody here is super nice. Will do anything in the world to help you. And it's just that homey feeling. You don't feel away, especially as a freshman. I mean, that's huge. I'm Jennifer. Join me at the University of Pikeville.
Welcome back in. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talked U-Pike basketball. Still to come, we'll step into the player spotlight. We'll go to the U-Pike women's side with Sydney Mason. Also, U-Pike women's head coach Bill Watson still to come on this edition of the Kelly Wells Show. In the men's spotlight, Jamar Briscoe. We call him Deuce, and the Mid-South Conference has called him Player of the Week twice this season. He's part of tonight's show as well. Right now, we step in and we talk highlights. We take a look at some recent Bears action, and of course, coming from the Christmas break, Ohio Christian, joined now by assistant coach Ty Compton, and Ohio Christian used as a tune-up game. Coming back from the break, we talked about after Thanksgiving, the guys didn't come back in great condition. They must have learned a lesson.
Definitely. We had 2 or 3 days of two-a-day practices when everybody got back on campus, and I had actually seen Ohio Christian play a couple times before we played, and they looked like they had the capability of giving us a little run. They had beaten some pretty good teams, a couple ranked teams, NAIA Division II teams.
Right.
So they were kind of a feast or famine kind of team, and luckily we got them on a bad day.
Got them on a bad day. And guys came back from the Christmas holiday. When they go home, they eat Mama's cooking. Folks pat them on the back, tell them how great they are. They get a little soft. They came back in good condition.
No question. We get them back in those first couple of days. Coming back, everybody tries to fight you a little bit. They don't want to. They don't want to. That second practice is never really effective, and coach did a good job of kind of putting everything that we needed to get covered in the early practice and going just over conditioning type stuff in the second practice. So they didn't have a choice.
Let's take a look at the highlights. 109-60 win as the Bears knocked off Ohio Christian. We'll get started as many games do. Trevor said he spots up straight away. Bingo.
Trevor has been on fire since he came back from Christmas break. He's played well in practice in every game we've played so far.
And had a little bit of an off day against Bluefield. We'll see that, but big on the boards.
Definitely.
Here's Elijah Justice and actually Chris Johnson. CJ3, we've known to call him.
Dude's playing those orange shoes, man.
Yeah. I like the orange kicks.
I've tried to tell him to keep those things off his feet, but he's a big fan of them.
There's good ball movement, just tremendous ball movement. A little bit of a small lineup there, and then Josh Whitaker. He wants to be called Red Velvet. He hasn't earned it yet, but he drilled the shot.
He's got a big kick out of the Red Velvet nickname.
Yeah.
That's kind of came on as of late.
Trevor again straight away. He hits the bottom of the net.
He shot extremely well during this game.
Get in front court. Nice little layup, a little no-look pass from Trevor.
Good mobility by Terrence Santil. He can. He's not showing a lot of limitations from his knee injury.
Would love to see him fully healthy because he does a nice job with what he has. Here's Deuce. He'll drive into the paint. Big man got him in the air and lays it in.
Big time thing.
You get Deuce Briscoe in the lane. He doesn't miss very often. A little defensive action. Chris Johnson, long alley pass. Whitaker. He lays it in.
We're definitely a better team when we can get our easy buckets in transition, and that's something we've got to make sure we do this week as well.
Here's Trevor with the rebound. Trevor doesn't give it up very quickly. He doesn't look for that long alley pass. He likes to keep it, doesn't he?
He wants to go coast to coast if possible, so he's going to give it a look anyway.
He does give it up to Whitaker, though. Little Whit in the paint, kicks to Trevor, and there's another three on the way. Bing. Go. Good defensive effort against Ohio Christian. Team looked fresh right here, as they should, coming off a big break.
And you can tell most of these highlights are coming off a defensive stop or a big-time rebound, so that's definitely the key to our success.
Chris Johnson, great bounce pass down to Colt Chapman. Is he the best point guard in the conference?
No question, in my opinion. He's actually leading the conference in assists, but the things that don't show up on the stat sheet, he gets everybody where they're supposed to be. He gives a great effort every night. He's a great teammate.
We saw Deuce just now leave his man sitting a little ankle breaker move. He drives the basket and got a big finish.
It's a plus that we've been able to have. We basically have 3 point guards on the floor at most times, so we can kind of let whoever gets it go, and we don't miss a beat.
Deuce one-on-one and left that guy sitting. 15 feet later, Deuce hits the mid-range jumper. Feel sorry for some of these players.
Some of them don't know what they're stepping into, especially when we're on a good night.
Absolutely. Trevor comes up with the steal there, and again, defense king the offense. There's Josh Whitaker with the long three. He can shoot it. Doesn't look to score. Looks to score more this year than he has in the past.
When Josh Whitaker's scoring, that just makes us almost unstoppable, just from the fact that he gives us another third or fourth scoring option, and when we have 3 or 4 guys scoring the ball like that, then we're tough to guard.
Terrence Santil, we just saw with a little spin move. Mobility looked good there.
Yeah.
Colt Chapman, young freshman, starting to grow up. Kicks to another freshman, Cody Malacote, straight away.
Cody is one of the best straightaway contested jump shot shooters that I've ever seen. He shoots it better when you put a hand in his face.
Whitaker with a little step back jumper from the free throw line there. And there's a steal. Freshman.
Colt with a big time dunk there. Yeah. He was pumped up about that.
He was wanting some highlight action right there. We could even get an instant replay. How about that? Slow-mo, Colt Chapman.
He'll appreciate that.
Welcome to college basketball, my friend. Trevor comes up with a loose ball, finds it open to Hobo McCoy, and Hobo lays it in. Good ball movement. This is a very unselfish team.
Definitely. I think that comes from having so many point guards on the floor. They've all been so trained over the years to share the basketball, and it's definitely showed up in our play.
Again, Trevor Setti with a great pass through the lane, finds Chapman, he lays it in. Colt Chapman and Cody Malacote, a couple of freshmen, they truly have grown up a lot through the first semester. Has it clicked for them yet? Have they realized what college basketball is about?
It's getting closer, I think. Colt. What lets Colt be successful is that his effort is just off the charts in everything he does. Cody's probably the more skilled of the two. Cody's starting to get a little more physical. It took him a little while to get used to the pace of the game and the physicality of the game, but he's getting closer. He's a big kid. He's just got to learn how to use it.
He's going to find out more about physicality as we get deeper into the Mid-South Conference season, because the Mid-South Conference is certainly a physical conference. We go to Bluefield now, on the road to tip off January, on the road to the Mid-South Conference. Some highlights from Bluefield, playing at the Mini Dome.
Yeah, that was definitely an experience going in there. It's not a very big venue, not a very well-lit venue, even though on the highlights here it's actually got very good color to it.
It really does. It's much brighter on this video than it was there.
On the video.
Got things started with Johnson with the pass to Setti. Now Bruce, he'll give it up. Deuce on the bounce pass, getting the assist.
CJ got us off to a good start there. He's getting better finishing in the lane. That's something that we've got to have him getting a little bit better at over the finish of the season, but he's getting better at it.
Deuce, he'll spot up straight away and drills it. Not many weaknesses in his game.
No, we shot it okay. Deuce had a great first half, but as a group, as a unit, we didn't shoot the ball very well. So it was nice to see us be able to get out a win on the road, by double digits on an off shooting night.
Crossover, stops at the free throw line and hits it. Here's P.J. Jenkins, first shot as a Bear, and he drills one from deep in the corner.
We were very impressed with P.J. He stepped in right off the bat. He's still not really comfortable with what we're doing, but his effort was great. He played great defense, and like you said, he stepped in, was unconscious with his first shot.
There you go. He gave it up, and Deuce again. He's trying to get that third Mid-South Conference Player of the Week, isn't he?
He's on his way.
There you go. Spot up from about 27 feet. That's half court at Bluefield.
No question. It definitely is smaller there, that's for sure. I can't get over how well the court looks and the lighting and everything on the video edit.
Deuce again, jumper from the left elbow.
Deuce really carried us. He had, I think it was 20 points in the first half, and really put us on his shoulders. Trevor had an off shooting night there. You saw him make one, but he really got to the line and embraced getting some rebounds and played big when we needed him to play big.
Whitaker again, a little spot up mid-range jumper. He drills that. A lot of players, they had trouble. We saw a lot of guys that had trouble with their slipping on the court. We mentioned that it was a lot like a bowling lane. U-Pike women's bowling team, they could have gotten some action in.
Definitely, it was slick. Deuce, I know Deuce had some noticeable problems a time or two. Actually almost got hurt one time right there, actually, at the end of that highlight. We had some issues with it, but luckily both teams were sliding around.
Here's Whitaker, just left wide open. You don't leave him wide open from there.
He's really stepped up his shooting and looking to score in the past few games. That's something that we always preach to him in practice and something that we need him to do constantly.
P.J. Jenkins with the rebound there. Chris Johnson with a half-court bounce pass down to Deuce. And that'll get you an assist every time. And then Deuce, I know he appreciates when he gets a pass like that. It's on the money. Definitely. It's on the money. Just tremendous point guard. And then Deuce, two-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. Of course, we'll talk with him in just a little bit. And folks will get a chance to meet him on a personal level as we talk to the student, Jamar Briscoe. And we'll talk about a couple of matchups coming up a little later. Great way to start January, great way to start 2013. Ohio Christian come back fresh, big win. And then Bluefield, Mid-South Conference game on the road, tough place to play, small gym, and didn't have a good shooting day. Small gym as opposed to some of the larger gyms, guys just have trouble adjusting?
Yeah, I think that had a little bit to do with it. It being our first road game in a while, I think it kind of took some guys a little bit of time to get it back into that flow of being on the road and not being with our comfortable surroundings. But at the same time, Bluefield's a dangerous team. They beat Georgetown there when they were number 3 in the country. Had beat St. Catherine there as well. So they had some quality wins at home, and we caught a little bit of a break, I guess, with our students being off campus. Sure. So I can imagine how loud it would be if they were on campus.
It's pretty loud in there. They list that place as holding 800. I don't see them getting more than 85 in there.
Maybe standing room you can get 800.
Absolutely. It's Ty Compton, U-Pike assistant coach, as we talk about the Bears' wins over Ohio Christian and also over Bluefield. Of course, the Bears with the big matchups coming up. We'll talk with Coach Kelly Wells about that. Still to come in the player spotlight, Deuce Briscoe from the men's side, from the women's side, Sydney Mason. And coming up next, U-Pike women's head coach Bill Watson. You're tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talked U-Pike basketball, and still to come, we'll talk with some U-Pike players. From the women's program, Sydney Mason coming up, and from the men's program, Deuce Briscoe. Coach Kelly Wells will return as we'll preview some big matchups coming up Thursday and Saturday for the Bears. Right now, we talk U-Pike women's basketball, joined by head coach Bill Watson. And, Coach, Happy New Year.
Same to you, Andrew. Nice to be back in the swing of things.
Of course, you get a long layoff over the Christmas holiday, and I've had a chance to talk with Kelly Wells about how his team responded to the Christmas holiday. And you get a long break, your players come back. Were they in shape?
Better than I thought they would be. We had about an 11-day break. That's the longest or second longest since I've been here at the University of Pikeville. From a practice standpoint, we were fairly pleased, but there's a difference between practice speed and game speed.
Yes.
And the way our schedule fell this year, we were unable to get a warm-up game, so to speak, before we played Bluefield. And
Right.
I think from a game standpoint, it showed early, and we dug ourselves a hole, and we were unable to get out of it.
Absolutely. Of course, the U-Pike women now 5-9, 2-4 in the league, had been playing well before the break, and with small college basketball, you do get a Christmas break if you don't have a trip over the holidays, and sometimes that breaks the season into two parts. How difficult is that for a team to have an 11-day layoff, be playing, whether playing well or playing badly at the time, and come back from that break and just step right into where you were?
Like I said, we were playing well early, right before Christmas, and it's one of those years that I wish we hadn't had a big layoff,
right,
to be honest with you, because we were getting a lot of things done, a lot of things accomplished toward the end of the first semester, and it's good to rejuvenate your body, so to speak.
Sure.
If I had my druthers, if we can work it out, we won't have that long of a break next year. And players may not like it from a standpoint they don't get to see their family as much, but from a competitive standpoint, you want to keep going in the right direction. And once we came back here, like I said, I thought we had some good practices, some intense practices, and we got to get that carried over, especially into Thursday against the University of Cumberland's coming in here.
Something we've talked with Kelly Wells about as well. At the semester break, a lot of times you have subtractions to the team. Folks leave the program for whatever reason. Do we have those with the women's program?
Well, we had a couple leave from a medical issue, a couple from a medical issue. It just wasn't in their best interest to continue to play basketball, or
Sure.
it could have been softball or anything.
Right.
So obviously their health is first and foremost in our thoughts. And we had a couple that had to have a couple of intercession classes.
Mm-hmm.
We have in the NAIA what's called a 24-hour rule. For any 2 consecutive semesters, you have to have 24 graded hours.
Right.
And we had a couple young ladies that fell short of that they're in the process of finishing that up right now, and they didn't play in the game at Bluefield. We'll get one of those young ladies back on for Thursday. We're hoping to get another young lady back for the following Thursday,
Right.
And we'll be at full strength then.
There you go. And certainly depth an issue, whether it's the women's program, the men's program. When you have a couple of players that play significant minutes and they're not there, you have depth issues. It changes a rotation.
Exactly.
And it makes it tough to respond to. And maybe that's part of the problem at Bluefield, but you were without a couple.
We were, and it, like I said, it changes roles and
Sure.
changes personnel. Excuse me, Andrew. And we've got a young lady, Brogan Conley. She had an MRI. She's going to have an MRI next week, but probably a little bit of a slight knee injury. Nothing that's going to keep her off the floor, but will limit her mobility a little bit. And we're used to having some knee injuries here in the 16 years I've been here, but she's probably going to have a little bit of surgery at the end of the year once we're eliminated from postseason play, if that happens. And but she didn't want to have it now.
Right.
And I'd have been highly surprised if she said, "Let me do it now and rest it and get it back." But once we get the Kalisha Johnson and Belle Jackson back, we'll be at full strength from what we started from day one, from our rotation standpoint and from a practice standpoint.
Coming up, a couple of big matchups. The University of Cumberland's Thursday, always a quality opponent. Cumberland U comes in Saturday, and you've got 4 straight at home. How big is that to start the second semester?
Well, it's big. We have 4 straight at home, 6 straight against ranked teams.
Right.
Or teams. Actually, our poll came out right before we went on the air. University of Cumberland's is 28th, and that's the lowest of the next 6 opponents.
Right.
But we have to play them. We're going to play them. We've prepared well yesterday and today in practice. Tomorrow we'll have another good day of preparation, and it's not a typical University of Cumberland's team. I mean, they have some weak spots that we're going to try to take advantage of. If we defend and rebound, we're a solid basketball team. And at Bluefield Saturday, that's one of the weaknesses we had, was rebounding the basketball with our size, and athletically we just couldn't match up with them. And that being said, it's a 7-point game with about 16 or 17 minutes to go, and they hit a run and we hit a wall, and It's a natural occurrence. You don't make baskets. You let down defensively. You let down on the glass, and that's probably what I'm more disappointed in than anything. We let down a little bit, but if we rebound the ball and play defense, we'll be okay.
Your team's faced some ranked opponents already this year, Shawnee, Lee University, and played well against those teams. This team a little different than teams from last year, for instance, much more competitive, and they don't seem to be intimidated by a team that comes in with that ranking.
I don't think we're intimidated at all. And we're, like you said, we've played Lee, we've played Shawnee State. Lee's the best team we're going to play all year.
Sure.
And that was a non-conference right before Christmas. So we shouldn't be afraid or intimidated by anyone we play. Now, whether we make shots and we can get stops on the defensive end, that's going to determine our success rate. But we're not going to back down. We're not going to be intimidated by anybody.
Talking to UPike women's head coach Bill Watson on this edition of the Kelly Wells Show. Coming up Thursday night, 6 p.m. tip-off, and, of course, live coverage on PikeTV.com as the UPike women will host the University of Cumberland's. Coach, in our player spotlight tonight, coming up next, we'll talk with Sydney Mason, sophomore guard out of Ohio. A little preview of what we'll hear from Sydney Mason.
Well, Sydney, number one, she's left-handed, so she's a little askew, we'll say. Yes. But she keeps the locker room in stitches. She's a great young lady. She made a trip this summer. I'll let you get into maybe a little bit with her. But she's extremely team-oriented. She's played the 1 for us. She's played the 2 for us. Competes every day in practice. She's a tremendous young woman to have on our basketball team. Great students, great ambassador for our program and our institution.
There you go. Coach Bill Watson, head coach of the UPike women. You can see the UPike women Thursday night at 6 taking on Cumberland's, Saturday at 2 with Cumberland U coming to town. Coach, best of luck. Let's get a couple of wins.
Let's do.
This week?
Let's do. I'm all for that.
There you go. Coach Bill Watson, see the women coming up this week. Coming up next, the Women's Player Spotlight. Sydney Mason next on the Kelly Wells Show. It's presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back in. It's the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Huge matchups coming up this weekend at the Expo Center. Thursday night, 6 p.m. tip-off, the UPike women take on the University of Cumberland's. And in an 8 p.m. tip-off Thursday, the UPike men, currently ranked 4th in the country, take on number 2 Cumberland's at the Expo. We want you there early. Need a big crowd to support the UPike men and women this Thursday against Cumberland's. Right now, we step into the player spotlight, and we spotlight one of the UPike women's player. Ladies and gentlemen, a 5'5" sophomore guard out of Morrow, Ohio, Sydney Mason. Welcome to the Kelly Wells Show.
Thank you.
Sydney, before we talk basketball, we talk about your exploits on the court, talk about some of your basketball background. We talk about student athletes, and in that, student comes first. Let's talk about your academic major and what you want to do.
I'm majoring in secondary education with a focus on English, so I want to teach high school
Any
English.
thoughts of coaching?
Yeah, I would like to coach. My dad is a high school coach, so I'm around that a lot, so I like being around that. I think I would enjoy that.
Let's talk about Sydney Mason and some of the other sports that you might have played, maybe the first time you picked up basketball in an organized setting.
I was about 2nd grade, I think, and I played up on a team, so that helps out always, playing up against people that are older than you and better than you.
Right.
So.
Your dad was a coach the entire time you were growing up, so you were a gym rat.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in the gym, and I know as I talk to coaches, regardless at what level, they always enjoy coaching coaches' kids because the intelligence level, whatever the sport is, the basketball intelligence is there because through osmosis, you're around it all the time.
Yeah,
you pick up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So your dad's influenced you in your playing career?
Yeah.
Did you ever have a chance to play for your dad?
Yeah, he was my high school coach.
Okay. So how was that?
It's interesting. You gotta learn to leave it on the court. You can't take home. You know, my mom is always trying to separate us if we ever had a fight, you know. But usually we were pretty good about it. I learned a lot. You know, you learn to be respectful, just like you would any other coach.
Sure,
so.
sure. But when you go home with coach, if you've had a bad game, do you talk about those over dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually you do, but you try not to, you know, you try to keep it as a normal as if it was any other coach. But yeah, it definitely leaks into your other life.
That's where mom steps in.
Yeah.
That's where mom steps in. And she puts on the striped shirt and referees.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Sydney Mason, growing up, started playing in second grade. Talk about your high school days and how you arrived at Pikeville.
I played at Little Miami High School. It's about 20 miles north of Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Started as a freshman. We had a senior point guard who tore their ACL, so I just was blessed with the opportunity to move up in the line. And from there on out, my senior year we had 8 seniors, so we pretty much solid team all the way coming up. So
right.
We were pretty good. We had we played together for so long, so we knew each other. You know so we played really well together.
Let's talk about how you arrived at Pikeville.
I contacted Coach Watson. I think it was the end of my junior year, and I came down here for a visit and practiced, and I really liked it. Really enjoyed the girls that were here at the time. Most of them are gone, but they were really friendly, really welcoming, made me feel at home here.
Very good. Sydney Mason, 5'5", sophomore guard out of Ohio, Little Miami High School, and of course a key part of the UPike women's program. We talk about your major. You'd like to go into coaching someday, and in secondary education. So we'll look forward to that, and we'll follow your coaching career once you finish up playing. Also, you had an opportunity to make a trip this summer that we wanted to talk about. Let's talk about that because you traveled to another continent.
Yeah.
Let's find out what's that's all about.
I went on a mission trip to Uganda, Africa this summer to we worked with an orphanage, and for 1 week, me and a couple other kids, they were teenagers, so we worked with young kids from an orphanage. We put on a sports camp, which was right up my alley.
Sure.
I love that. Soccer is their thing. That's what they love over there. But so you had to adapt to that. But so it was really fun. It was an awesome opportunity. We went to the Nile, and I got to see a bunch of different stuff. And we worked with a bunch of different orphanages and went to hospitals. And it's just amazing the stuff you see over there that you can't even comprehend it until you go over there.
Right.
But it was amazing. Definitely.
Textbooks, those things can't teach you that.
No, yeah, definitely. But
I have to ask because you're a basketball girl, grew up playing basketball, gym rat, and soccer is their thing in Uganda. Any basketball hoops at all?
I came across 2. They had one court. It was on dirt and no nets, just a wooden backboard and a rim, and they played it's a different game. I don't really know. It's not anything like over here, but it's similar to basketball, but you don't dribble. They just pass. You can't travel, but you just pass it along, but you have to make a basket. And that's there. A lot of the girls loved that, which was really cool. So we played that, and it was amazing playing a sport that you love in a different country,
Right.
So it was an awesome opportunity.
Any plans to making future trips?
I would love to go back, in the future, but I would love to go back. It was hard to leave, really, come back. So.
How long did you spend there?
A little over 3 weeks.
Wow, it's a long trip.
Yeah.
Long trip. You got homesick?
In the middle, it's hard. When you first get there, you're so excited to be there, and then in the middle, you're kind of like, oh. But then at the end, you don't want to leave. So.
Yeah, I have to ask this because it's a major part of my life, and it's something that I have to ask when someone travels to a different continent.
Yeah.
Cultural differences are huge. How was the food there?
It was good. Everything is home cooked right in front of you, but a lot of rice and goat, which I didn't really eat that much of, but chicken, fish. It's usually those are their staples. Pretty much.
Not a big fan of the goat.
No, I try to stay away from that.
Talking with Sydney Mason, 5'5" sophomore guard out of Little Miami High School in Ohio, and a guard with the UPike women's team. Sydney, Cumberland U coming up. Team playing very well before the Christmas break, now sputtered just a little bit. What's the attitude like in the UPike women's locker room?
Coming back, it's always hard to come back, but this past week I think that we've had some of the best practices, most intense, most competitive that we've had all year. And people are really, we're ready for this game. Coach said it after our game Saturday. this Thursday it's going to be coming down to who wants it more. And right now, I mean, we're really focused and we're ready to win on Thursday.
Let's knock off Cumberland's on Thursday night. 6 o'clock tip-off. Ladies and gentlemen, Sydney Mason, 5'5", sophomore guard. You'll see her on the court this Thursday as the U-Pike women take on Cumberland's. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thursday, the rest of the year, and in your career.
Thank you.
Sydney Mason in the U-Pike Women's Player Spotlight. When we return, we'll talk with one of the Bears' men's player, Jaunaury Briscoe. Deuce, we call him. He's a 2-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. Coming up next on the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. Welcome back to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless. We talked U-Pike basketball, and of course we've talked about the U-Pike women's program with head coach Bill Watson, also in the player spotlight. Sydney Mason, a 5'5" guard with the U-Pike women. They're in action Thursday at 6 at the Expo Center, hosting the University of Cumberland's. Coming up Thursday at 8, our number 4 ranked U-Pike Bears taking on number 2 Cumberland's. And we'll step into the men's spotlight now and talk about that matchup in just a moment. Joined now by a 2-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. He's a 5'10" senior guard from Baltimore, Maryland, a transfer from Charlotte. Ladies and gentlemen, Deuce Briscoe.
How you doing?
Do I have to include Jamar?
No, you don't have to.
Because I typically use Jamar, but Deuce seems to have caught on. 6 30-point games this year. We want to talk about that. We want to talk about the Mid-South Conference Player of the Week honors that you've had and coming to Pikeville. But before we do that, talk about Deuce Briscoe, the student. We know you can shoot. We know that you can leave players sitting there with the ankle-breaking moves. But let's talk about the student part of Deuce Briscoe. What's your academic major? What do you plan to do?
Well, I'm a sociology major. I came here as an Africana Studies major, but I changed it for my last year. I actually, speaking with Coach Wells and Mr. Hurley, they decided that would be a better look, you know what I'm saying, and I agreed. But with sociology, like I told my parents, I'm better hands-on with helping people, and I like to do it. So I don't see why it's not a good idea.
Right, and of course, want to play basketball for a while as well.
Oh yeah. That's definitely plan A, but you always have to have a plan B.
Absolutely, great idea to have the education. It's a fallback plan, and you're very successful in your college career. 1,000-point scorer at Charlotte in 2 years there. It's quite an accomplishment. You've now got 6 30-point games out of 16 games that the Bears have played. You've been a Mid-South Conference Player of the Week 2 times, and coming off a 31-point performance against Bluefield on Saturday. Big numbers, big things, but a lot of times when we see those, we see selfish players. We've not seen that with Deuce Briscoe. This team's a very unselfish team as a whole, is it not?
Yes, and to go back on what Coach Ty said earlier, 3 point guards is a big plus, and 3 good point guards at that. We understand what each other likes, where we want the ball, and we also understand what the other guys like as well. I mean, we all are playmakers in a way. Chris Johnson is definitely a playmaker on defense and with, of course, passing the ball.
Sure.
Myself with scoring. Elijah, even though we may have not seen a lot of him, but he's the smartest player on the team.
Yeah.
No hands down. And Whit just hustle. He's everywhere from a guard standpoint, and we work hard and we bring it every day. It's a battle. Practice almost sometimes is bad because we compete so hard and we hack each other. And Coach Wells kind of has to stop and get in between. But it's good, man. It's a great. You still have that competition at D1 level. All those guys came from D1 programs,
right.
and it helps as a team.
Absolutely. Deuce Briscoe, 5'10" senior guard out of Baltimore, Maryland, and of course transferred here. We want to find out how you arrived at Pikeville, and I was around during one of those visits, but let's back up even further. When did you pick up a basketball for the first time that you recall, and your first organized playing?
I remember, I think it was around 8 years old. I was on the basketball court, and the maintenance guy was like fixing the house, came to see me play. He used to call me No Hands. His name was Mr. Paul.
Yes.
He had found out, it was a Thursday afternoon, I went to a program called John Eagle Howard, which was a good program at the time, but not in his eyes, I guess.
Right.
So the next day he found out, he took me to a program called Mount Royal, and from that day, it's been up. I actually didn't make the team, the traveling team. I made like the rec team where I just play locally at the rec. I didn't make the traveling team until I was 10, but it helped me, it pushed me, it motivated me. Actually, my first practice was, I was in there with Donald Thomas, youngest brother. He actually played here. His name was Desmond Thomas, and we was in the gym, and I didn't score for 2 hours. Like I was the weakest link, and it was embarrassing. But I kept coming back, and I got better. And to this day, my coach, he coach is still around. He still pushes me. I went home and worked out at the rec over Christmas break, and it just felt good, like just to come back and still have that relationship and that trust with him. So.
Absolutely. It's kind of hard for me to believe that Deuce Briscoe was ever the weakest link on any team playing at any type of level. I don't care if you were 8 years old playing against 16-year-olds. It's hard to believe you were the weakest link.
Every time I get a chance to go against him now, it's like I go directly at him. Like I still remember that day when I didn't score. So it's fun though. It's still competitive.
When did it click? When did the light come on for Deuce Briscoe, and you realized that you were a pretty good player and you wanted to play at the next level?
High school, as a freshman in high school, I began to start rolling. We won a championship on JV year in high school. Sophomore year wasn't too bad, wasn't too good team wise, but individually I got recognition, I got honorable mention, and then it went up from there. Second team, first team, runner up player of the year, and Baltimore Catholic was tough. We had Dante Green, Malcolm Delaney, Brandon Green was on the other side, so it was tough. We had some tough players, and every year I kept getting better, and it translated. I just continued to work hard, and I had a lot of people telling me. I didn't have a lot of people telling me how good I was, so that was a plus as well too.
Absolutely. Obviously a well-centered young man, very humble, and Deuce Briscoe, a lot of times we have guys that come in with an opportunity to be a little bit stuck on themselves, to be a little bit, I'm better than you. 1,000-point scorer at NCAA Division I level, and you've got 6 30-point games, you've got 2 Mid-South Conference Player of the Week awards already this year, and yet you're very well-grounded.
Yeah, well, that's hats off to my mom, to my family, my stepfather, my uncles, and just to Baltimore City. It's a lot of greats that's done more than me and stuff like that. So I have been honored to be around those people and to be around my family, and I just got a humble family, and that's all that is, and humble coaches as well. So
family keeps you well-grounded.
Yes.
They don't let you get too big for your britches.
No,
Deuce Briscoe, how did you arrive at Pikeville? I happened to be around during a recruiting visit, but when did that first contact take place, and how did you narrow down your choices? Because you had options. How did you decide come upon to play for the University of Pikeville?
Leaving Charlotte, I actually signed to Mountain State. Mountain State went down. Coach Boland, they went down because of some academic issues within the program. So they kind of like shut down the school. So when I opened it back up, Pikeville was my number 1 and Lee was my number 2, and it was kind of a tough tough because I mean Lee campus life was everything. Coaching staff was cool. Pikeville's coaching staff was, you know what I'm saying, was just great. And it was a hard decision, but it's all in what I was looking for. I was looking to win. I was looking to come get a great education from University of Pikeville, and I was coming to be coached. And that was the biggest thing. I knew Coach Wells would still coach me, no matter how many accolades I was coming in with, how much individual success. I still wanted to be coached, and that was a big decision that I had to make. And I made the right decision, and I still felt like I made the right decision. From the outside looking in, my parents were actually a little distraught when I said I was coming to Pikeville at first, because they it's in Kentucky, Lee was closer, so that was kind of a selfish thing by them. But I mean, we are happy now, so
Right.
winning.
Absolutely.
And then education. So
Good teammates around you. How much did the fact that the Bears and Coach Kelly Wells had been a state championship coach in high school, national coach of the year on the high school level, national coach of the year on the NAI level, and he owns one of those championship rings? Is that a factor?
huge factor. I've never won. I never won, and he has.
Yeah.
So that's keep us humble and myself humble to come into practice and work hard and push yourself. I want one of those rings, and I want to know what it feel like to be a part of a winning team like that. So that's a huge factor. And Elijah, he has a ring. You know what I'm saying? So that's something I want and I'm chasing.
There you go. Deuce Briscoe, we're looking for another Mid-South Conference Player of the Week honor, and I know you just allow those things to happen. You go out and play ball every week. Cumberland's coming up Thursday. Have you guys talked about the importance of this game? You're ranked 4th in the country. They're 2nd. It's a Mid-South Conference affair, and very well could be for the top spot in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to Cumberland's and no other team in this conference or this nation, but we don't worry about any other team. We worry about Pikeville first. So, I mean, they have to stop us. I mean, we talk about it. We prepare for them.
Sure.
We don't just go in there blind, but we worry about ourselves. And it's X team. That's what we call it. So.
There you go. Probably don't even look at players' names. Just look at,
No,
I'll be guarding number 10. I don't worry about his name.
No, we respect him, but we definitely don't fear him. We know how big of a game it is, but every game we go out there, we try to get better as a team. Win or lose, win, draw, we just trying to get better as a team, and that's all it. And if we do the right things, we will win and we will be better as a team.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see why he's quickly become one of the favorites of the UPike fans. Jamar Briscoe, a 5'10" senior guard from Baltimore, Maryland. We call him Deuce, and he's got 6 30-point games already this year. He's a 2-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week already this year, and he's a huge part of this UPike basketball program. Ladies and gentlemen, Jamar Deuce Briscoe. Deuce, good luck this week against Cumberland's and Cumberland. We're looking for a couple of wins.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing this guy in Kansas City. We're going to share some barbecue national tournament time. That's right. It's the Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless. Cumberland's coming up Thursday, the Cumberland U on Saturday at the Expo. Need to see you there. When we return, we'll talk with Coach Kelly Wells as we preview those matchups and wrap it up. The Kelly Wells Show presented by Appalachian Wireless.
Hi, I'm Elisha Justice, a transfer student here at the University of Pikeville. I will be a junior next year, and I'm majoring in business administration. I grew up right in Dorton, went to high school at Shelby Valley, and I'm a really big family person. Looking forward to be back home and, be around all my family and all my friends and to play basketball here at the University of Pikeville. I'm Elisha Justice. Join me at the University of Pikeville.
Welcome back in to the Kelly Wells Show, where we talk UPike basketball. Of course, earlier we've talked about the UPike women. They've got a big matchup coming up on Thursday at the Expo Center when the University of Cumberland comes to town to take on the Bears and our UPike women. Also, we've talked to the players. Sydney Mason from the UPike women's program and Deuce Briscoe, 2-time Mid-South Conference Player of the Week. He's a big part of the 15-1 start for this UPike program. Rejoined now by Coach Kelly Wells. And, Coach, I know you're proud of every aspect of your program, the way the players represent themselves, the way they've played on the court, obviously, and the ranking that they have. Well represented, Deuce Briscoe. He's a guy that's joined the program, and he's fit right into the team and to the locker room.
And the university and our community. I mean, he's doing just exactly what we ask him to do, and he's got every reason to be boastful and prima donna. He's got every excuse, every reason to do that, except for the fact that he doesn't want to be that. He wants to be a team guy. He wants to win. He's a great young man, great player, and that's, as a coach, that's exciting for me to say.
Sure. Absolutely. Sometimes we see players with that type of skill set and they're chest thumpers. And Deuce is certainly not that. He just goes about his business quietly. And there have been times when he embarrasses other teams' players just by his skills, by a crossover dribble and leave someone sitting. And he's not one that gets in your face. And he's a pleasure to watch. And a great addition to the program. Coach, we talked about new additions earlier. P.J. Jenkins, we've seen him, and we understand a couple of more players waiting on clearance from the NAI.
Yeah, we're excited. We've got two bigger players for us. I wouldn't consider them true post players, but they're 4-3 combo type players. One of those is a 6'7" young man from Tennessee, Greg McGee, who fits us so perfect. I can't wait to get him on the court and let everybody get to see what we've been able to see in practice. Just he runs like a deer. He's a high energy guy. Again, he's 6'7", so he gives us a presence on the interior. Can guard 1 through 5 positions. I mean, just a nice player. I think the fans will love him just as much as the coaching staff has, and he'll hopefully get done this week. He's got a few hang-ups on his transcripts, but he's a junior college transfer, and he was actually Player of the Year in their conference for their tournament. So he's legitimate. I mean, he's a nice player and a nice young man on top of it.
Right.
Also, we have Lakeem Duncan, who's a junior college transfer. He's about a 6'6", 3-4-man lefty. Got great hops, an offensive threat, good strong body, so he gives us presence. He can come in and spell us some minutes on the interior as well as stretch 4 men out. So to say that we're excited about those additions would be an understatement.
And with those guys becoming eligible and cleared by the NAI, it keeps us from seeing Josh Whitaker down on the post anytime soon.
Yeah, it's been unique. We've had to run Josh at the 4 a little bit. And like I told him, I said, that's a compliment to you because not everybody can run every spot and know it all, and that's a sign of a coach's son. And he's really progressing for us, too. So we'll take whatever hits we have to take, but it'd be nice to be ideal in our situations.
15-1, 5-1 in the conference, and the biggest game of the year coming up Thursday, the University of Cumberland's. As we said, they're ranked number 2 in the country. UPike ranked number 4 in the country. Both teams know each other well. Donnie Butcher will bring his squad in. You know what you're going to get with Cumberland's. They'll flat get after you, much like UPike.
Yeah, they'll be very physical. He's got a nice deep team. He's got a few recruits in that are really nice players, but he's got some good returners off their Mid-South Conference tournament championship team last year. So they came in with a lot of momentum finishing the year out. Anytime that we match up, it's always a great matchup for us. And I look for a great crowd. We say it's our biggest game of the year because every single game that we play, the next one's the most important. And we've got to win those games, especially got to protect your turf at home. And we've done a good job. We've done a good job both on the road and at home, and need to continue that. And we need a great crowd. We need a lot of people here, not just for our Cumberland's games, but come out to all of them. You will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. We invite you to the Cumberland's game this Thursday at the Expo. The UPike women tip off at 6, the men at 8. If you come check out these teams, you'll fall in love with these teams, and you will come back because both teams playing very well. The UPike women very competitive. The guys 15-1, number 4 in the country. What more can you say? It's a great brand of basketball, and the more you see this team play, the more you fall in love with the guys, the personalities that they represent, and just well-mannered young men. It's a program we can be proud of, from the coach to the players to everyone surrounding the program, and then, of course, the brand of basketball as well. Cumberland's Thursday, Cumberland on Saturday. Still another test.
It is, and Cumberland's Tennessee poses a lot of problems because they shoot it so well. They've got 5 guys on the court at all times that shoot it well. They're non-traditional in their play a little bit. They do some leaking out and running out on transition points. They like to play fast. They pose a lot of problems, and we'll have to be ready. And we've started working on them. Our players don't know that yet because we don't want them to look forward. But it's every night. You got to bring it. You got to bring it in a high level. And anybody that plays Pikeville now with our ranking and the success we've had, we're going to get their best.
You betcha. Of course, as your guys may be tuned into this program, what are 3 quick keys to a win over Cumberland's on Thursday?
I think one of our biggest things is to score the ball. I know that sounds very elementary, but for us, we're averaging right around 99 points. And when the ball goes in the hole for us, our defense is better, our rebounding is better, our passing is better, our body language is better.
Yes.
So it's important for us to score the basketball. Rebounding is always going to be a key. The other night we got out rebounded by 4. It's a little disappointed in that. We've got to get that on the plus side every night we play, because if we'll get stops, that leads to fast break opportunities and transition. And the last one is establishing our transition game like never before.
There you go. Coach Kelly Wells, that's our coach, and a huge game coming up this Thursday at the Expo. The UPike women take on the University of Cumberland's at 6, followed by our Bears, currently ranked number 4 in the country, taking on number 2 Cumberland's. It's an 8 p.m. tip-off at the Expo Center. We want to see you there. If you've not seen a game this year, this is the first one to be at. Need a good crowd, need supporting of the black and orange. as the Bears take on the Patriots. And Coach Kelly Wells, have a great week of preparation. We'll look forward to seeing you on Thursday and looking for win number 16.
Can't wait. Always enjoy the opportunity to represent University of Pikeville.
It's Coach Kelly Wells. He's our coach. You've been tuned to the Kelly Wells Show, presented by Appalachian Wireless.